And to a certain extent, if those heroes continue to be made available to him, there's no real reason to sort of flex that pool. That's something I think that EgoBoys are now going to try and take active steps towards. They don't want that same situation. They want to force Parker out of his comfort zone, even if it ends up being an unknown. Even if you put him onto a carry where you're not entirely as sure, it could be even more dominant than the TA, although based on the game 1 performance, that might be a little bit hard to sort of measure up to. But at this point, I think you take the fear of the unknown over letting that Tierra Quap come in again. So we'll see if EgoBoys have pushed their opponents into that kind of position. Infamous are taking a little bit of time here with that third selection to sort of think things over, and they do have multiple directions they can take this. They could grab their second support, or they could slam down a core hero really right now.
And I feel like an Abaddon would also work pretty well. Instead, they're going to go for the Witch Doctor. That is, it's atypical. It is something we haven't really seen a lot of, and that's an immediate Sand King.
Wow.
Okay.
But
Okay.
that Witch Doctor Mars combo, it's one that we sort of saw not too far back, actually, a couple of months, I would probably say, if my memory recalls, which it probably doesn't. But the Witch Doctor in there with the sort of stun, the Mars can sort of try and set up for the Spear and the Rebuke, and if you get in that Maledict beforehand, you can do a little bit of damage, but the problem with that combo and the reason why it didn't really persist to right now is because there's a lot of moving parts to it, right? You need the Maledict down first, you need the multiple stuns, so, I mean, they have to go for it. They've already taken the hero, but it'll be interesting to sort of check out, to see if they can actually get that synergy going for themselves. If they can do so, EgoBoys' really sort of safe lane duo is gonna have to be careful of that burst potential, but it's maybe not the most normal play in the world for them, as Infamous will respond to the Sand King with the Wind Ranger in that 4th spot. So should be, I guess at this point, KXY on the mid Wind Ranger and the Mars in the off lane.
Yeah, I can only assume that's what they're going to go for. And Mariano on that Mars, he has been incredibly impactful. And again, it sort of dissuades that Viper from being put in that mid lane position where if you have to do it, you can definitely do it. And we've seen, again, Alone playing and making that matchup work out. But again, it's something you have to deal with. And I don't think EgoBoys, at least mentally, are wanting to deal with anything right now. I think they want to get a lane set up they want to be happy with what they have, and I feel like they're just done with counter picks at this point.
Yeah, at this stage, it might just be about, we're going to take what we want and sort of ignore the consequences. So we'll see how that plays out as we're moving into the final phase of the bands. Infamous running out of time. There we go. They do get it in with zeros on the clock. So PL and Troll banned out on their side. Meanwhile, for EgoBoys, Gyrocopter and the Bloodseeker being banned away. That Bloodseeker really not getting picked up all that much, regardless of the position, carry or sort of off lane. He's sort of fallen out of favor, but EgoBoys were still a little bit concerned about it, so I don't really know if that's something that Parker would have played in this scenario, but at this point, fair enough. EgoBoys don't want to deal with it, and they will take it away.
And it's really just a hard counter to that Sand King where you do have to be pretty cautious. That is also a pretty good counter to both the Sand King and the Viper, and something that we've seen teams pretty hesitant to pick up just because there's always been that A sort of floating around. There's always been that Puck that's been a big threat, and really Puck has been the big dissuader for that Morphling pick to ever happen. So now you do pick up the Morphling, you do have that Sand King transformation, you're also able to become that Viper, and we saw in the mid lane matchup, Gunnar playing versus that Viper, just getting completely shut out, but still having strokes of genius where you are able to actually become the Viper, get those 5 stacks up, put the Nether Toxin down, and that Viper gets incredibly unhappy. But now that they do have that Viper, you do not have that flexibility anymore. I think everything is pretty set in stone for the Infamous lineup.
Yeah, they know exactly what they're really going to be sort of going up against here. Really outside of that carry choice. EgoBoys do still have that final pick coming in. Plenty of time to think this one over, but, well, in terms of what they can actually pick up, it's always going to have to be careful. We sort of talked about the Mars and the Witch Doctor potentially be able to play up a little bit more aggressively, or I suppose technically speaking they could switch it up and run the Mars with the Enchantress. Either way, though, the Mars plus any support is going to be able to at least attempt put together some aggression here. So for EgoBoys, you need to be prepared for that. The problem is, some of those heroes that deal best with that lockdown, the likes of the Lifestealer and the Jug, who have that durability built in with the Magic community, you banned out to protect the Viper. So
Hmm.
they're not out of options, but they sort of shot themselves in the foot a little bit. Obviously, unintentionally. They couldn't have really known at the time that the Witch Doctor Mars was sort of coming through, but now you're left in a bit of an awkward spot here. There are still heroes available, but none of them feel fantastic.
And while you can be almost certain that this is going to be a King Tekka Sand King, you have to think, what is Rise is going to want to play? What is he going to really want to do in this game where you feels like you sort of need an initiator, you need someone who can go in. And Ursa is definitely someone that you can go in, but versus Wind versus Morphling, he does not have a core hero that he really wants to get onto and stick on. Versus the Mars, it will feel okay, but I feel like you're just going to get speared back. It does feel like a little bit of a reach for Rise's hero this time around. We'll see if he does go for that pretty standard diffusal build again, but it still doesn't feel great. It feels like you're going to get kited just a little bit. You are okay versus the Enchantress. You're one of the few heroes that doesn't mind the Untouchable too much, but again, I don't know. This is a hard one. I've got to go for Infamous on this game again. It feels like they've got the really just the leg up in the draft, and what we are going to see alone is actually going to take that Sand King mid. It's still, it feels like EgoBoys are getting forced off of their heroes again. It feels like Infamous have sort of drafted them into a corner.
Yeah, and that was the phrase I was sort of using before the pick came in. There were options available, but none of them really felt great. They're good. It's not just a straight up situation where nothing can happen here for EgoBoys, but everything that they want is going to be difficult. Everything will be an uphill battle for them. So, like you were saying, it feels like Infamous have drafted themselves into a pretty solid position here, and the pressure is going to be on that EgoBoys lineup to really make some stuff happen. I do like that switch up, though. Just maybe not tactically putting alone on the Sand King, but just the fact that you just get him off the Viper. He really hasn't had much success, and at a certain point, I feel like some of it might just be him getting into his own sort of head with that sort of Viper matchup. So putting him on something else, running the Viper in the off lane, it's a change that might just be for change's sake, but that honestly could do more good for them considering the struggles that they've had to this point.
And looking at this Viper, Queensrÿche has got boots first. We're already seeing something interesting happening in this top lane, as well as 7 mangoes queued up. And if he can stay aggressive, if he can stay on top of this Morphling, we saw how good the Viper does actually end up being, but this is an interesting starting build for the Viper.
Yeah, one set of tangos, boots, and as you mentioned, 7 queued mangoes. So part of me hopes that he actually buys 7 mangoes just for the hell of it, but obviously that would not be the greatest of ideas. But Viper making his way up to the top lane, Infamous meanwhile not really showing too much right now. KXY and Mariano hanging back in the lane itself, so they're not going to be sort of giving away their immediate position. I don't know if any opportunity actually presents itself. Maybe Tano gets a bit too far forward here, but I think he's just going for the ward is what I was going to say. He runs into A, though, before he can actually throw it down and takes a tower shot for his trouble. So it's not going to be too bad for him. He should be regenning up most of that, but the ward does have to be placed elsewhere, as he will get it up onto that little high ground cliff.
Yeah, and really the vision from EgoBoys scouting out on whether this Michael Enchantress is going to make that rotation mid. If you do get ganked up, the Sand King does have that Burrow Strike out if it ever gets too hairy, but hopefully from alone, we're just going to see farming up, ignoring the wind, getting these waves in as fast as he can. We see him actually hiding the sentry underneath his own tower, so that way he doesn't exactly know where it's going to end up. And KXY also starting with the sentry because, again, knows the matchup, knows that it's going to be, yeah, he's just going to do this.
Yep. Sentry goes down, pretty straightforward, but now alone. Can sort of walk it in here. He can sort of try and pull some CSI triangulation there to figure out where the sentry ward is, and then go back to pick up his own. And well, that's exactly what he'll do here. Nope, not grabbing it just yet. There we go. Forgot about it for a moment. We'll pick it up now, and we'll see if he actually gets this correct. I said he was going to be able to sort of walk it in and figure it out, but that's not exactly a guarantee. If he misses on this sentry, it is going to feel exceptionally painful for him. So we're not seeing him sort of rush his way forward just yet, obviously because that would be suspicious as hell with KXY just standing here, but does get the opportunity.
No.
Now burrows in.
He actually got the double hit off. Okay, good. I thought he right-clicked the win for a second there, but got his sentry. Nice.
Bit of a close call there. His own sentry took a hit, but now alone, not exactly secure entirely in this lane, but it's going to feel so much better for him as KXY won't simply be able to sort of get the harassment in with those right clicks. So the lane becomes significantly better for the Sand King over the next couple of minutes here, as he is just going to try and sort of keep himself even. 7 last hits for alone, 8 and 3 for KXY. So this is maybe not the perfect start, but it's about as good as you could have expected for the SK.
And should probably see him going to stack that small camp, but might stay in just a little bit longer trying to get those water runes. But it is going to feel like a little bit of a struggle. But yeah, I think that's top.
Top lane, yeah. Trapped up inside of the cogs. Tano just gets in onto him. Cog in a battery assault starts it off, and King Tekka has the range to hit him up. Nothing the Morphling can do to defend his teammate there. So just that little bit out of sort of position for the Witch Doctor, and he is made to pay for it with a pretty substantial amount of damage. That's just a play that's going to be available to King Tekka and Tano almost all the time, is right on cue. Tano, if he didn't have sort of mana shortages here, although he was holding on to 2 mangoes, so might have wanted to try it, but at that point King Tekka was a little too far away. So they do back off of it, but it's not going to take much for the Clockwork to get in onto this Witch Doctor, and A is not very survivable. Neither is the Morph for that matter, if he's on mostly Agi in this lane.
And you have to be incredibly careful, and Tano is playing it exactly right, just keeping that lane forward, making it so that way it does eventually push back into the Viper. And with this boots of speed first, it is putting a lot of pressure onto the Morphling. And while you are getting that Morbid Max first, and you haven't really been zoned off of the waves, bottom.
Ryze is taken down. Michael in for the enchant. Mariano got him at the end there with the rebuke, just that little bit of extra damage, and Ryzes will be taken down. Kara even tried to save his buddy there with a cookie, but it just wasn't quite enough. So I really didn't expect that they would get that kill, but they do manage to pick it off. Meanwhile, up in the top lane, Tano, that's a bit too far forward. He is going to get hit up by the Maledict into that stun, and Parker will take him down. So back-to-back kills for Infamous there across really multiple different lanes, as it just feels like EgoBoys were a little bit out of position, over-aggressive in the top lane, whereas Ryze's Ryze is actually, he's looking for a little bit of revenge. He pushes in, but the problem is Kara doesn't have the HP to survive that. The Ursa can't actually get on target, and Infamous will pick up a 3rd straight.
Similar to that previous game, they're losing the Sentry War. They're not able to block these camps, and Michael just has free reign. They've really done nothing to block or secure anything down here, so this Enchantress is just full strength, and whenever the wave is pushed up, they were able to get him again. Yeah, the Witch Doctor was feeding top, but it doesn't feel the worst, because your Morphling, again, he has his Morbid Mask. It feels like he can now sort of exist versus the Viper.
Yeah, and I said, for King Tekka and Tano, that combo onto the Witch Doctor, that's going to be there pretty much all lane long, pretty much all game long, actually. But if you're not putting pressure onto the Morphling in addition to that kill, then the impact is going to be significantly sort of lessened here, and the Morphling is looking pretty good at this point. Last hit-wise, he's at 13 and 4, which, sure, isn't the highest count in the game, but now he's looking for a return play. They're going to jump in onto Tano. Does he actually commit with the waveform, though? Without that, I don't think they have the burst potential, and he's not willing to sort of put himself at risk like that. If you waveform in, obviously you're not getting back out, and King Tekka's in a position where he could have punished it. So they do back themselves away from that, but down bot, Kara taken down again, Mariano and Michael striking once more, and this is 4 kills in 5 minutes. Infamous really not shying away from any early contact.
And it's just new enchant, new creep, walks up, gets the spear. It really is impossible for Kara to do much in this lane, and Ryzes is able to get a little bit, but just chunked by that impetus. It feels like even him, it's really hard for him to walk up. And now
King Tekka's dead.
Yeah.
Taken down there, as this turns into a bit of a trade-off. A will be taken down in exchange, but actually, wait, hold it. Yeah, okay. Not enough actual morphing there from the Morphling. He has 2 points up in the attribute shift, but it wasn't enough. Couldn't quite get enough health in time. Tano finishes him off, and that makes that so much better. I thought that was just going to be King Tekka for a support. That one was looking pretty rough, but that kill from Tano in onto the Morphling really does swing it EgoBoys' way. So, certainly a step in the right direction for them.
And you just need to be careful now, because this has been a complete free farm from KXY, and there's not much, of course, that he can do versus alone, but getting this Javelin, he can always come to that Viper's lane, he can always come to the Ursa's lane and really just sort of ruin their day. And up until you get that Blink Dagger on the Sand King alone is not giving you anything. And actually, too.
Ooh, whoa, hey, yeah, Tano in onto Parker again. He I mean, the first time I can understand. He's sort of coming off the back of a fight up
Ooh,
against the Viper. That time he just sort of gets caught, and now the Viper might be caught as well. KXY's in. A's going to be here as well. Nice stun to start it off into the focus fire, and okay. They will be able to trade it out, but that's still your Morphling being taken down. Now Tano, can he actually
he's
do
level
this?
5.
He's going to go for the Cog Trap, and KXY has to try and cut his way through, but he can't make it out. Tano with the Rocket Flare gets it done, and okay, the Clockwork's going to step up here. That's a 4-1 start now for the Clock. On the other side of the map, though, Kara will be taken down, but Rise is able to hold his ground. Mariano will fall underneath the tower, and Michael just has to get away, but Rise is pushing forward with the Earth Shock, trying to get those right clicks in. I think he's got this, unless Michael has some sort of miracle. He's sitting on some wand charges, so maybe, but Rises has the Earth Shock. He's back in again.
Oh, but the
Nope.
creep.
Good job there with the ensnare from that Dark Troll Summoner. That's going to get Michael out, so really multiple times there where it looked like he was sort of dead to rights, sneaks away. The Ursa rejoins the fight with the Earthshock, but he's not quite able to get it. But honestly, he got the kill onto Mariano in the first place. That's really what they wanted, as Mariano now returns to the lane, but the Ursa got a nice bit of gold for himself with that pickup.
And now Tano, he is level 6. He could very well set up on this Morphling. They need to chain it up perfectly, though. They might need to bait out the epicenter beforehand, but this is a completely jacked Clockwork. And I think bottom, yeah, KXY.
Rise is taken down,
But
KXY rotates in, but yeah, in that middle lane, they're going for it. Cog pushback is there, but the morphing, or the attribute shifting, has already come through. The Cogs, though, do push Parker back into both the hookshot and the epi, but it's still not enough. Parker gets away. A will be taken down in exchange, but Tano basically had to sacrifice himself as well. Now Kara's on the run. Can he get himself out? Burrow's strike is up in 1 second on the Morphling as he is going to jump forward. They've taken Kara down, and Alone doesn't have the mana to actually keep that fight going.
And that is not what they wanted. You really wanted to play more heavily towards the Wind or the Mars, especially knowing they didn't have the arena bottom. But instead, you go for the risky play mid, and you definitely get punished. And that's what they constantly need to be worried about on Alone. You're so high level. You don't have many levels in the Burrow Strike just yet. But once that Morphling gets eyes on you, he's going to become you. He's going to stun through your team. And I don't think he's going to work towards the Ags necessarily. He doesn't really have a fantastic target. But it's definitely something you need to be incredibly cautious of, especially if you go for one of those wild dives.
Alone, though, does have the Blink Dagger, excuse me, available now as they jump in, but the waveform is going to get Parker away, and now here comes the turn. This is an absolute disaster for EgoBoys. They're losing Kara already, but Alone is still able to find one. A will go down. Rises will now join the fight, but there's going to be the Spear. Tano, though, in with the hook shot. That's going to buy a little bit of time for them, but Parker is still not dead, and Alone is actually going to have to fall back. He's going to get hit up by the Shackle, though, into the waveform, and this just goes horribly. EgoBoys have to fall back. Rises gonna try to get himself out, but there's the arena.
Nice.
Nope, jumps through it. Nicely done with the Earth Shock. That he can't afford to go down there. That would have made an already bad situation even worse. But now, why King Tekka? There is quite literally nothing to gain in this situation. He can really only get picked off there. KXY, I mean, he takes some damage, but realistically, you weren't gonna get that pick. So, not entirely sure what happened there with the Viper. Just a little bit too late to the party, and will pay for it as Infamous grabbed the kill, but now Alone is back in. If the Morphling isn't careful, maybe he gets stunned up, but between Alone and Kara, I don't think they have the damage to find that, especially not with the Kisses still not being leveled up, as the Snapfire hasn't hit 6 yet.
Yeah, and it feels like the rotation is just way too clean from Infamous. And even though I think they did lose one here, they did lose A, mid, with the Blink reveal.
He's going for it.
Nice.
There it is. Alone. First Blink Dagger play didn't quite work out, but the second time around, he is going to be able to make it happen as Parker will be taken down, and that is a big kill. Nicely done by Alone. He's not deterred by that sort of first slightly botched play, as they will be able to find the pickup, and now they're going to move their way up to the north. They're looking for Mariano here. I don't think he's going to survive this. There's no arena. He doesn't even have Spear. He's got no mana to defend himself either, and Tano quick in with the hook into the burrow, and that's going to be Alone picking up another one. 3-1 now for the Sand King. They're starting to get a little bit of speed underneath them, and if you're Infamous, got to be a little bit careful. Can't afford to give up too many more like that, otherwise this Sand King, he's still second place in the net worth, despite sort of getting picked off earlier on, so can't really let him take too much control of this game, but now that the Blink is online, that SK is just going to be feeling so confident pushing forward.
And those are the heroes you need to really prey upon, especially because Rises, he's bought this Morbid Mask. It feels like it's going to be a little bit hard. Once he gets that Morbid Mask, he'll be able to at least farm Ancients, but really you have to decide what kind of build you want to go for. Do you want to get that Diffusal? Do you want to get that old Battle Fury where maybe you're able to keep up, but you're losing your mid tower? They don't have Epi, so I don't think they have enough damage for this.
Glyph is going to come through defensively. That'll buy a little bit of time for them, but
Ooh, Tano.
sure it's going to be enough as Tano. Is he spotted? Yes, he is. Enchant comes through to slow him down. The tower, though, was the main priority for the side of Infamous. So they take that down, and now they'll back themselves away. Not really looking to get too involved there. I think they suspect that multiple heroes are making their way in, like Tano. Connecting with the hook, but there's going to be the death ward out from A. That's just not what EgoBoys wanted. Tano dead, Kara gone as well. Michael doesn't even die there. He's going to be able to walk away. That urn ticks him down a little bit further afterwards, but it's not nearly enough as Infamous get the tower and get a pair of support kills. That just is unfortunate. I know what Kara is sort of trying to do there with that play, but he didn't really have the backup, and I don't think he realized just how many Infamous heroes were in the area until it's already too late.
And you have the kisses, you have the Blink Dagger on alone, but I think they got scouted out or something there. They must have had the knowledge on Infamous because they don't give up on the play. And I feel like Alone might have given up a little bit too easily. They want to sync up. They want to use their cooldowns to try and get something going for them. You see Rises is going to decide to go for that Diffusal Blade as well. And I feel like, yeah, there has to be a smoke up. These heroes need to group up and do something. And I'm a little scared for Tano in the bottom lane. If they catch wind of him, they could rotate. A does need to be a little bit careful, but we're kind of losing grasp of this mid game. It feels like they're being a little bit too passive on the EgoBoys side.
And, I mean, because of the pace, yeah, it sounds like that, but we're talking about sort of a mid-game tempo here. We're all of 12 or 13 minutes in, so the timetable has been pushed up a little bit by Infamous, but Tano, well, looking to fight back there. Able to get in onto A. Nice hookshot play. Maledict is going to do pretty much no damage to him, so that's the kind of play that we need to see more of from EgoBoys, and they need to be able to do it consistently. Every single time Tano really has this hookshot online, they should be looking for some sort of easy pickoff like that one, but as of right now, they've got some problems. There it is, Mariano blinking forward. Arena will be dropped into the spear stun. Power shot coming through from KXY as well, and that's a pretty straightforward one. Mariano gets the kill. Meanwhile, Alone is channeling the ult. He's going to go in. They've spotted the morph.
Nice. Perfect. Yeah, and they ping out the ward immediately. They know exactly what just happened to them. And A, again.
Hello? Witch Doctor is going to wander up there, and he might just be... Yeah, he's straight up dead. Okay. Alone gets the double, but here comes KXY in with the focus fire. So they're going to use A basically as a sacrifice to set up for the kill. Meanwhile, KXY turned around for the shackle, did hit up the clockwork, but that stun almost comes out a little bit too early. The clockwork's able to TP away, and while all of that was going on, EgoBoys actually snuck Ursa into the pit to pick up the Aegis. So it is unfortunate to lose Alone there, but you get the Morphling, you get a kill onto the Witch Doctor, and you've got Aegis up on the Ursa, so in a roundabout way, I think they do still sort of benefit from that rather significantly.
And while the Ursa is able to get that Aegis, yeah, you got the kill on the Morphling, you send him back to the fountain. He has been getting picked off by the Sand King, and it really is just a vision advantage. It's something that EgoBoys kind of need to crawl back, and really their series today, they haven't been getting that. And this is a nice play, getting it just a freebie on Michael.
Trying to get into the jungle there. Don't know if he was looking for a creep or looking to ward. No, he doesn't actually have any wards. So just trying to grab himself a creep. Unfortunately, he runs into about 3 or 4 enemy heroes, and EgoBoys do bring him down. That's going to swing that net worth actually into their hands. So first time in about maybe 5 or 6 minutes that they've been able to hold on to a net worth lead, and this surge is well timed for them. If they can continue pushing forward like this, I think they've got themselves in a pretty decent position, but Infamous are assuredly going to try and do something to reestablish control. As we see the 3-man smoke in the middle lane. Parker, Mariano, and A looking to push their way forward. They've got Michael TPing in here as well, and they're going to run into the clockwork. The hookshot play will buy some time. Mortimer Kisses actually coming in as well, but there's going to be the response. Parker directly in onto the snap, but he doesn't actually cancel it, so as Mortimer Kisses continue to throw out there, as Mariano does get taken down, Tano's going to try to TP out, and he does make it. They don't quite have the damage, and now Rises... How much does he really want to commit for this? His teammates are already starting to back off. He does have the Aegis, but don't really know if this is the position where you want to use it, but he may not have a choice. The enchant will slow him down. King Tech is able to turn around, though, for the Nether Toxin, and Alone was sort of casually faking out the Epi, so they were ready. If the Ursa actually got jumped in on, they were going to have his back, but that is not going to be fully necessary.
Well, and that is one glaring issue with Infamous's lineup, where if KXY is not finding the shackles, and he does have a BKB, but it really all falls onto the shoulder of Mariano, and if he does get caught out like that, it was a little bit surprising to see those kisses get off, because he did use the Agi adaptive strike as opposed to the strength one, And it does feel a little bit sad, but once he gets that BKB, really those plays sort of stop happening and you didn't have to expend the arena. So now you're going to be able to immediately run at them. And oh, they're going to break on King Tekka again.
For that Viper, he's just straight up dead. KXY not even going to pop the double damage rune as they don't feel that they need the bonus damage. So well, he still holds on to it. He's got his BKB and a double damage rune and the focus fire. So they could realistically look for another target. Mariano may not have the arena, but the Blink Spears play is still there. So there's a situation where if you're EgoBoys, you can't necessarily feel safe in this area just yet. As Tano going to get hit up by the Shackle. He's pinned to his own cogs by that Spear Stun from Mariano. They will be able to find the kill, but Alone in the bottom lane got a solo pick
kill
onto Parker.
And again, it's Parker. He's a little bit too greedy. He's at 880 HP. He has an Ogre Axe, but no Sanjin Yasha yet. And yeah, just falls down. And Alone keeps getting away with it. It feels like he's getting a little bit too much from these soul picks.
Michael,
and Michael.
Too long in that bottom, or south side jungle rather, as he's just going to get completely annihilated. Kara pushing in with King Tekka, and between that and the morph kill, EgoBoys maintain this lead. They had just barely sort of pulled it back in their favor. You thought maybe Infamous were going to be able to sort of strike back with those last couple of pickoffs that they found, but just like that, EgoBoys back on top. So if you're Infamous, you really do need to be careful, and as you sort of mentioned, Alone, he is really getting quite a lot out of some of these picks. He's second in the net worth right now, but you see right behind him, the other two cores. EgoBoys hold 3 of the top 4 spots right now, so if you're Infamous, this is not exactly smooth sailing for them. They really do need to try and reestablish control and actually hold it this time, but that's much easier said than done, as EgoBoys are starting to maybe feel a little bit more confident in their ability to take some of these engagements.
And something we haven't seen just yet are these pickoffs and these kills translating into towers where Infamous have been slightly more successful. But, ooh, Tano maybe getting a freebie onto the Witch Doctor.
Yeah, and A will be taken down here. The Mortimer Kisses alone should be enough to bring him down. So Kara will pick up the kill from long range, and Infamous, they threw down a sentry or two while the Witch Doctor was sort of in that area, but they will still lose the hero, and now we see a bit of a group up in that middle lane.
And this is exactly what they need to do. Have this really fast decision-making and rises. Oh. He was in on the Mars in the back. And now Michael, I don't know if they're going to be able to catch up to him. They do have a Burrow Strike and 2, a Blink, and yeah, I think he might be gone.
Do they know where Michael went, though? They don't actually spot
missed him.
Wow. Sneaky play from the Enchantress, hiding out in the pit, so he is going to be able to get himself out of there. But now, he's sort of behind enemy lines. He's going to have to use a TP, but he doesn't have one up for 20 seconds. So he's sort of stuck here for the time being while EgoBoys push their way onto the tier 1 tower. So you were mentioning before really how many of these kills lead into objectives. EgoBoys are now starting to get a little bit more online on that front as well. Tier 1's taken both top and mid now at the 19-minute mark.
And we will have to see once you get that Aghanim Scepter, once you get that Blink Dagger on the Ursa, then maybe we're going to see a little bit more of a fast pace coming out from EgoBoys. And that Roche, it was so fast that the second Roche is going to be by about 22, 23 minutes. And then all they need really is a kill onto the Mars, and they can go into the pit again, as the Morphling really won't be ready for that. And we're actually going to see he's going for an Ags. He's going to try and just become that, basically just become the Sand King whenever he can. Oh, Tano.
Oh, Tano's going to get cut out. Mariano, meanwhile, jumps in with the arena, but at this point, this one's a little too broken up. A and Mariano can't get the kill. They do bring down Tano, but I don't really know about that trade-off. Mariano will fall, but here comes the Morphling. Parker into the fight, looking to take down the Viper. They do have the Maledict on him, so King Tekka will end up falling. Now they got to turn their attention on to Rise as the Shackle, though, will connect.
Nice.
Mortimer Kisses trying to be thrown out defensively here, but I'm not really sure that's going to be enough. They take down A, but the Ursa's still in trouble, and he will be finished off. It's a triple kill for Parker on that Morphling. And can they actually catch up to Alone here? Not really. He's going to blink himself into the river. KXY doesn't really have the mana to follow after him. So Alone gets away, but that's a pretty solid one for Infamous. Two dead on their side, 3 kills going their own way, including 2 of those 3 cores.
And I'm glad that we do see Rise is switching up his build, not going for the Blink Dagger anymore, is going to instead go for that BKB. Then he is going to feel sort of like that monster. He is going to not take that much damage from the Maledict, but still, it's all going to come up to that timing around when this Roche respawns. If it respawns in a minute, it's actually going to be a little bit too soon for EgoBoys. I think then they might be forced to defend against it, in which case that favors Infamous heavily. I think if this Roche round respawns maybe 22, 23 minutes, they're going to feel a little bit more confident, especially with the Aghanim Scepter being finished up on Alone. But I think after they get those items, you need to run at Infamous. If you can find the win at the beginning of each fight, he didn't even use his BKB in that last engagement. He still has the 9-second. This wind is just uncontested.
Yeah, that is still going to be a pretty major concern. KXY is almost untouched, 6-1 and 7, and now is when it becomes more concerning because KXY is beginning to pivot more towards being a more dedicated damage dealer. We see the MKB being worked on for him, so he's already got 6 kills and 7 assists, really without any sort of major damage outside of the Javelin. That is going to be
King Tekka.
No longer the case, as A does get taken down elsewhere on the map, but if they can trade out for King Tekka, they're going to be more than happy with it, as they will bring down that Viper. So, 1-for-1 across the map, KXY gets the kill onto the Viper, and it's unfortunate for the Witch Doctor, but you will trade that one out every single opportunity. So, the Witch Doctor going to be back up in 15, but EgoBoys, okay, looking for the smoke. Alone and the 2 supports are going to move into the east side jungle, I suppose. Maybe they could get onto the Morphling again, as Parker not on the highest sort of HP count right now.
Yeah, here we go, but
there it is. Mortimer kisses out as well. The shifting has already come through, though, yeah. Didn't quite have the timing, so Parker will survive and Alone. Wise choice. Not going to try and get out on foot. Forget that. Just TP out right now before anyone comes to get you. So, missed opportunity, but at least they won't pay for it too heavily.
And you would love to see Rises finish this BKB before Roche respawns, but it looks like it's not in the cards, and they're actually going to try and cut him off here. They've got a lot of items finished up on Infamous now. 2 Force Staffs, a Yule Scepter up on the Mars, as well as almost this Aghanim Scepter being finished for the Morphling. It feels like everything is going to converge around this 23-minute mark.
We'll see how it plays out. Roche about 45 seconds away here, and both teams sort of getting the feeling that Roche will be respawning soon. I believe they already missed the earliest possible timer, so they're going to be periodically checking in onto that. Meanwhile, yet another Force Staff. This one on the EgoBoys side, though. So the clock's got 1. Both of the supports on Infamous have them, so there's going to be quite a bit of sort of forced movement here as Kara checking the pit, but, well...
Oh, he got both of them.
Mariano's going to jump in, but he's taking a lot of damage at this point. However, KXY is in with the focus fire. They're trying to take Tano down, but now Alone. Burrow striking his way forward, connecting onto 2. There's no epi to sort of deploy here, though, so at this point his damage kind of limited. As Alone, got to get jumped in on. Nice morph from Parker, turning himself into the SK for the follow-up stun, and Alone will be taken down. That is going to force the retreat from EgoBoys. They really can't afford to take this fight without their Sand King.
And I think, unfortunately enough for the EgoBoys, they might be a little bit too weak to immediately go into the pit. I don't think they can really start it, especially versus Clockwork, so this will buy at least a little bit of time for Rises. He is closing in on that BKB, so we might see sort of a softer reset coming out from Infamous, but now Morphling has his Aghanim Scepter. If he ever sees this Sand King, you have to be incredibly cautious on how you engage with the EgoBoys, because aside from Rises BKB, you don't have anything else in the works. You don't have a Lotus Orb. The Force Staff is really the best tool for them to sort of kite it out. But again, if they ever take a misstep, this Ags is just going to tear them apart.
Yeah, Parker, a lot of offensive firepower, and he is about to hit level 18, so he's going to have that sort of shortened cooldown as well on the ult. So, 40-second cooldown, and to be honest, we're sort of talking about him morphing into an enemy. If he's just looking for straight-up mobility, could even morph himself into his teammate. He could turn himself into the Wind Ranger and get that sort of wind run play. Just try and sort of close distance that little bit faster. So it's not just about potential damage. He's also got more sort of maneuverability across the map if he does need it. Although to this point, Parker hasn't exactly needed that level of sort of extra maneuverability. But who knows? This next fight could call for it, as EgoBoys are going to smoke up. They do want the engagement. They're hoping for a fight into a Roche attempt, but Tano might be a little bit too far forward right now. He's got to be kind of careful, but yep, A stepping in front of that one. He's going to bite the bullet. He will be taken down. Tano, though, hooks in onto Mariano. They're going to get the Mortimer Kisses in here as well, and this Mars, he's just straight up dead. The Yule Scepter will buy him some time, but he has nowhere left to go, as the arena will be thrown down, but he still falls. Mariano will die, but the Ursa is dead as well. Parker able to get the kill alongside KXY. Actually, Mariano technically gets the credit for it, but either way, Rises down. Alone dead as well, and all of a sudden, way too much pressure onto this Viper to try and carry this fight, and he's not going to be able to do it. He's just getting sort of bounced around here. They'll find one kill onto Michael, but they can't really contend with either KXY or Parker, but they are certainly going to try. But now here comes the Morphling back into the fight, trying to dish out the damage, and he is going to be able to get it. Waveform forward will get him the kill. Gone. Now he morphs into that Wind Ranger for the Shackle, locking down Kara. Not going to be able to get the kill just yet, though, as the Cookie will stun him up, and oh my goodness.
Yep.
Oh, that's gotta hurt. Kara gets stunned up by his own cookie as the Morphling will take him down, and now Tano, he's gonna hook his way out of here, but is this actually enough? I think it is for now. Parker doesn't have the waveform up for a few more seconds, so they will give up on that chase, but they take the fight pretty convincingly.
And we saw there, because the Sand King sort of hit himself, he wasn't showing, he wasn't giving it away, he immediately becomes the win. He double shackles the Ursa. It doesn't make the stun last any longer, but does look pretty cool. And it's already such a good wind game where if you get this BKB, I can only imagine that he might be thinking about the BKB on the Morphling, but this Ursa can't contest. You need a Blink Dagger, you need an MKB, and you need a Basher. That's the only way you get to stick on top of this.
Oh my god, hey.
Rises.
He just goes straight in onto it. Not going to be able to get much damage in with that Death Ward, but Mariano is able to push in for the arena. Rises, though, has the BKB. That's going to buy him a little bit of time, but at this point, Infamous are bringing reinforcements, and Rises, he's just got to back off, but okay, Tano in with the hookshot, gets the pushback with the cogs, but now the shackle into the spear will lock that clockwork down, and nobody's coming to help him. Tano will fall, but KXY, he's not done. Pushing in, popping the BKB into the focus fire. Rises on the run, but the bash is even coming through here as well. Into the shackle, he's gone. Rises will fall alone, now sort of trapped up inside of that tree line. They're not able to focus in onto him directly, though, and that does mean he can get off the epicenter. That's enough to take down KXY, but I really doubt that that's enough. They get KXY, they do get A on the back end there as well, but losing Rises again, absolutely sort of painful for them.
And it does feel a little bit bad. Maybe that was just KXY's decision saying, I'm going to lose my 8 streak. I'm going to go and make sure the Ursa's dead, because if they are able to get any return kills, we're not going to be able to hold Roche. So it felt like almost the hero play there on the wind, trying to keep the Aegis out of the Ursa's hand, as they didn't want to necessarily fight immediately. If there's one thing that you need to be careful on with Parker, is if he does lose too much mana, if this clockwork cogs combined with the diffusal puts him out of that threshold, he does need to be careful. And we saw him just TP back to base there, get that full reset. But now I can only imagine Roshan is on everybody's mind. Nobody can really give it up. One team has Ursa, Clockwork Flare, the other team has the power shot. And while he has been dying a lot, and I mean a lot, being 212 and 18, he has been giving away a lot of that information for whenever Infamous do eventually take the fight. But they don't know that the Ursa's in the pit. They missed it with the ward.
Mariano, okay, he's going to drop down the arena, but Rises just pops a BKB. He's going to stick it, going in for Roshan. Can he get it, though? Yes, he can. He will be able to grab the Aegis, even leaps out of the pit. That is a big move for him, but his teammates are still going to pay the price. Kara will be taken down. It looks like the Viper will fall as well. However, Mariano and A are taken down in exchange, so that's a 2-for-2 trade with the Ursa walking away with Aegis Cheese and the Shard. So that's pretty spectacular. The timing works out perfectly for EgoBoys, as Tano, well, even if he does get caught out here, I think he's going to be fine, but they're not even going to be able to catch up to him. He will make it out, but no TP for 50, so it's a long walk back home, but nicely done by EgoBoys. They needed that play. They managed to make it happen.
And while you did see that double shackle coming in from KXY, it does feel like once they were in the pit, they needed to get in, get out. You didn't even see Alone, I think, go for that counter initiation. He was afraid of getting caught out as well, but they get away with murder. Well and truly. There was nothing that Infamous could have done, I think, without a Blink Dagger, or actually with the Blink Dagger being freshly finished on the wind. He didn't want to fully commit in there, even though they did have that double Maledict. And they just had absolute vision from the EgoBoys, so they knew they were safe from the south, but more plays bottom. I think Alone might just be dead.
Alone, he's... Oh, wait, Cheese actually going to save him. Clutch play from the SK. I don't know about that Epi. Actually, no, he gets in. The blink into the burrow gets him onto KXY. Okay. Go for it, Alone. Why the hell not? Cheese into the Epi. It turns it around, and the Wind Ranger really sort of ran out of time on that BKB at the worst possible moment. So that's a bit of a misplay from Infamous. They really do give one up there, and it does force out the Cheese usage, but Cheese for KXY is honestly a pretty big kill, especially if it keeps Alone alive and farming.
When it really started with that death top on KXY, where it feels like they're sort of loosening their grip on this game, as Infamous are giving up a little bit more than I think they really should, and this is maybe a dieback on the Mars.
And Mariano's in some serious trouble here. Can he get himself away? For now, yes he can, but now A and Michael are a bit out of position. Those force staffs, though, coming through from everybody. Michael and A able to fall back. Tano tried to force into the fight, but now Parker, that was a bold TP, but he's into the fight now. They're going to try and get onto Rises, but that spear, it's not going to latch. It's only the pushback, and at that point, they really can't commit any further for it.
and they really don't want to fight up until this Wind is alive again. And the Wind, she did her job in that previous fight, but just the cheese and Mariano.
Wow.
And more.
Rises just straight up tears through him. Mariano dead, and KXY still not up for a few more seconds, so Infamous not really able to mount an immediate response, but now we do see the TP coming through. So KXY is here, but they're without Mariano, so a lot of their initiation has been sort of thrown away, but Rice is hit up by the Shackle. Can they actually follow that up? No. A will be taken down, but Parker's able to morph himself into the Wind Ranger. Meanwhile, Tano, that's unfortunate, hooks into his teammate, so he's not into the fight, and that is going to cost them. Kara's going to get taken down first. The Viper going to get hit up by back-to-back Shackles. First one pins him to the tree, second one pins him to Tano, as the Clockwork will be taken down alongside the Viper, and now Parker wants even more. Another Shackle coming in onto the Ursa, into the Death Ward as well. They've burned through the Aegis. Can they get him a second time? Alone, trying to sort of hold out in that tree line. He is going to be forced to sort of back away, though, so Rises really is alone in this fight. He does take down A, but he's not going to be able to get himself out of this one. That TP is not going to be enough. It's even canceled by, I believe, a bounce from the Paralyzing Cask, but well, at least Alone gets away, but that is a massive sort of loss for them. 4 heroes dead, the Aegis gone, and what they get in exchange is really not all that worth it. Mariano and A taken down. The Witch Doctor technically dies twice as he buys back, but it's a worthy sacrifice to get his team the fight win.
And really, it's just the vision. They had to get up to that hill. They dove a little bit too hard for those initial kills. And I think there was at least one buyback coming out from the Infamous side that might have caught them off guard. And with that Lincoln's finished up, they didn't know about it. So you saw Alone stun him once, and then Heart just absolutely sank because he couldn't do anything for his Ursa. He had to retreat himself. And KXY's hunting. I don't know who's baiting who here.
Can he actually get this, though? He's hanging out. Got the Invis rune. If he can get the Shackle, maybe this works for him, but no. Okay.
He's going to give it up.
Yeah, if he got the Shackle, maybe, right? But that's a pretty big if, so he will back himself away. But while he was sort of prowling around, his teammates took down the Tier 2 tower. Meanwhile, I want to point out, Michael went for the Enchant Effects Ancients talent, so he's got this sort of Ancient Thunderhide just kind of plodding along behind him. 270 move speed means it's not exactly up with the rest of the team, but they are going to sort of have that as maybe a little bit of extra backup. Don't know how much of a difference that'll make, but it's worth noting Michael has more than just your sort of standard creep.
And it doesn't feel as good as the old Enchantress where you could constantly re-enchant the same creep and just kind of keep it with you as long as it could go. But Thunderhide, definitely the best creep I think you can give. Maybe the Granite Golem feels a little good just because you do give that extra HP to top off your Morph and your Wind Ranger. But Thunderhide, it does do a lot of damage. And I believe, yeah, it gives you 75 attack speed. That is pretty massive for a Morphling who's going in and out constantly. But I think Infamous are reading into this smoke play. I think they're going to make the call with the Thunderhide, to be honest.
Yeah, they are. Whoa.
We'll get him 4.5k HP. He knows exactly what's going on.
Yeah, he suspects. I really doubt that they were really going to go in for it at that point once they see the Morphling sort of backing away. So
and counter smoke?
Yeah,
yeah, looks like it.
Yep, 5-man smoke. Here we go. Infamous looking to sort of get this one started as they will make their way into their north side jungle. The Morphling preemptively morphing into KXY's Wind Ranger. Ooh, as they do spot Tano. Okay, what is going on? This fight is so broken up. Really 3 or 4 mini engagements going down as the Viper is going to get isolated further to the west. Mariano and Michael will try to bring him down, but the Force Staff gets him over the wall. But here comes Michael in with the impetus shots. It's a lot of damage into the power shot, and they will somehow snipe him out. Viper dead, and now Tano in some trouble as well. The Shackle doesn't actually latch, but the second Shackle certainly will. And that's Tano dead. Clockwork taken down, but now the Mortimer Kisses will fly through. Rises trying to get into the fight as well, but the Huel Scepter locks him down into the Spear Stun, so you might want to be a little bit careful. We're going to see him start to fall back, looking to link up with Kara and Alone as they will simply regroup in their west side jungle. But here comes KXY blinking forward. Wind Run coming through. He's going to get the Shackle down onto Alone, but the rest of the team, not quite here. So he's going to pop the BKB and look to fall back. Rice is even getting in for a little bit of damage there to sort of dissuade KXY from going any further. But now Shackle comes through. Kara locked down. Epicenter, though, from Alone. He's going to get him onto KXY, and they do find that kill. So the Wind Ranger will be taken down. Kara falls as well, though, but now here comes Parker into the fight. The Sand King doesn't have a whole lot left to work with. He's going to go for the burrow. That does get him over that cliff, but Parker trying to okay. Didn't get vision. Okay. He saw Alone. Apparently that was not the case, but now Rises may be in a little bit of trouble here. He's going to get pinned to the wall by that spear. Parker, though, really doesn't want to go back in. Okay. Backing himself away. Rises dangerously low on HP, though, so he wasn't exactly looking to reinitiate either. So everybody backs off. Everyone will take a moment to sort of cool down here, and at the end of it, Infamous walk away with that sort of lead pushed up to 3K. So we're seeing quite a bit of back and forth here as we are into that sort of mid-late game, or excuse me, late game stage. Wow, words are getting hard. But neither side able to definitively pull away. We've seen that lead change hands about 4 or 5 times now over the last 10 to 15 minutes. So pretty much anyone's game, but now the Viper's in some trouble. Mariano hits him up with the arena into the spear. The impetus shots will come in from Michael, and there's no way King Tekka survives this one, but he is actually making quite a go of it, and another Toxin does drop Mariano low enough where Tano gets in with the flare for the kill. So Mariano will fall, but at this point, this fight may continue on as Infamous are trying to push it onto Tano. Can they actually bring him down? That Force Staff may have actually gotten him slightly more... well, slightly lower, as Michael will bring him down. Tano taken down, rises though in the middle of this fight, but this really is not a great engagement for him. Very low on HP, and Michael creates a separation there with, I believe, the Hurricane Pike, but Rise is somehow still not dead. Parker's actually the one going down. He morphs into the Sand King to get that burrow, and that will get him away.
The wind's up.
And now here comes KXY. He's pissed off. Blink is available for him. Will he be able to jump in onto anyone? They're going to try and go mid. And there it is, the Shackle again. Every time that Shackle is just latching on, his Kara will be locked down and taken out. But now Alone and Rises are still alive, so that is going to be the good news if you're EgoBoys. The rest of the lineup can sort of respawn and regroup around them. You just got to keep those two in sort of fighting shape, and you're at least going to have hope to pull yourself back into this one. But that is another fight that should go pretty much in Infamous's favor.
Yeah, and while they aren't finding sort of those objectives, and Roshan will respawn in 2 minutes. I think that is the longest possible respawn timer. You can't help but feel that Infamous, with this BKB now fully built on Mariano, with maybe another item coming out for the wind, they've been really good at getting onto A and Mariano in these fights. But aside from that, it still feels like EgoBoys are struggling to get a very convincing win, especially with King Tekka just being sort of stuck on this immobile hero. He's getting his Viper Strikes off. He's trying to do as much damage as possible, but it feels like what he's really accomplishing isn't enough. It really is the Alone and Rise show, and everybody else is just sort of playing their own game, whereas Infamous, for diving in again. Oh,
KXY,
no!
look at that blink into the Shackle. They've got the Ursa. He's dead. He's going to pop the BKB as well as the Enrage, but it won't be enough. He's still going down as Rises will fall, and now... oh, the route is on. They're just going to surge their way forward. They've caught out Alone as well, keeping him locked in place. Another Shackle coming in. The Death Ward will be deployed. Alone is dead, and this is where things are going to really fall apart. King Tekka trying to get himself away, but he's not really going to be able to make it out. Parker picks him up. They bring down Tano as well. The buybacks are just flying out here, but oh god, the Sand King bought back, TP'd in, gets shackled up. He's dead again.
And that's the big issue. You just have so many playmakers. Once you have Parker on that wind, you have that double shackle, you have that additional disable, and we won't have Roche for another 42, but there's just a DD on the wind now, and I think they're going to check it out, be a little bit disappointed by the respawn timer, but they're just going to go up. Checking buyback status. Nobody has it.
Shackle shot connects. I feel like every other word I have said in this game has been the word shackle shot, as they just keep on landing it. Tano taken down, tier 2 tower falling mid, and yeah, no Roche up for 20 more, so they're just going to push in. They've got the DD rune up on... oh, KXY. Okay. That is a very deep dive there, but there's really no one to punish him, so there's no consequences whatsoever. They will just turn their attention in, and yeah, they're going for the win. Looking for the tier 4, no buybacks up. It's going to come down to the Snapfire pulling off the greatest miracle we will have ever seen, and it's just not going to happen. He's firing out the Mortimer Kisses, but it's too late. Tier 4 down. Infamous will be able to take this one as the Ancient will fall. And that's going to be it. 2-0 sweep for Infamous. One last kill onto Kara there. Nope, they don't quite get it. But they do manage to get the win.
And Tano Alone getting the GG out. At least it felt like they were able to get one good game out of tonight. And it really is unfortunate. It feels like they were just a little bit too good on Infamous. It feels like the playmaking, the playstyle just kind of counteracted EgoBoys, and it really felt like at the end of the day, it was a bad night. They weren't able to get the victory versus the team that I personally think they should have beat. And I think just keeping King Tekka, they just kept picking this Viper. They keep picking this Viper because they know how valuable it can be. But I think this team just needs to stick to their roots, pick up something that's going to feel better. We already know that they're not at full strength. They don't have Drakeel, but again, they should be able to win at least some of these games here. But I think this is sort of their group stage coming to a close. I think they have maybe 1 or 2 more series, but just shake off the dust, get ready for playoffs. They really just need to make a big shift.
Yeah, they do have one more series left to play, but at this point, I think they are mathematically eliminated from one of those upper upper bracket spots. So they're pretty much sure of where their position is going to be in that playoff bracket. Their final series, though, is still going to give them a shot at sort of maybe a tune-up match, a chance to get any sort of momentum going for themselves. If we're looking for any sort of silver lining, I will say of the 4 games EgoBoys played today, I do believe this is the one where they were looking sort of the best, which is obviously unfortunate because they do still lose it, but there were some steps taken forward. There's some things for them to build upon here, moving into their final series of the group stage. So I don't know. It feels almost patronizing to say that, but you need any benefits possible here for EgoBoys. We know what they're capable of with this roster. They really just need to sort of get on the same page. So was it good enough to win? No. But was it better than what we had seen earlier on in the previous 2 series? I would say so. So positives at the end of the day.
Definitely. And they just need to polish up. I feel like there were so many times in their series where EgoBoys are ahead. They are 6K gold up 20 minutes into the game, and then it just sort of all goes down the drain. It's just the 1 or 2 misplays where it feels like they should be winning and they just end up don't. And there's definitely a spark there, though. They're not always getting beat down. It's not the 17-minute washes that we could be seeing from some other teams. It feels like they definitely have a fighting chance still, even going into the playoffs as cold as they are.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, as you said, as cold as they are, they could go into that with something like a 2-12 record, but once the playoff starts in that lower bracket, it's best of 3, it's elimination, so you're really never fully counted out of this. I know for a lot of people, they're probably down on EgoBoys right now, and based on the results, that's understandable, but that playoff bracket is always going to be that sort of great equalizer. We'll see what they put together in that matchup and what they put together in their final series, which I believe is not for maybe a day or 2. I don't actually know the schedule too far in advance, but EgoBoys will have one last shot at least in this group stage to show out and give us something to sort of look at. But for now, not a whole lot for them. 4 straight losses here on the back end of day 4, and they are pretty much parked in the bottom half of those standings. But with that being said, that will do it for us here on day 4 of that group stage. We will be shutting things down in just a little bit. Before we get out of here, though, you know what time it is. It is time for a shout out for our sponsor, LootBet. Thank you very much for sponsoring the event, helping us to put this one together. And for those of you who don't already know, new users can get a 100% bonus on their first deposit up to 150 euros. Use promo code PRO on loot.bet. That's PRO, P-R-O. Meanwhile, existing users on LootBet can also find more promotions and deals when they visit loot.bet themselves. So thank you very much to LootBet for sponsoring the event. Thank you to all of you who are going out there and trying out that promo code. If you choose to do so, though, do remember, as always, to bet responsibly. So, ad time over, day over, day 4 done and dusted in the books. EgoBoys probably happy to see it gone, but that'll do it. We are going to be back tomorrow for day 5, same start time that we've been going really every single day, 1 p.m. Pacific time, if you want to set yourself a reminder. And we're really getting into it now, moving into that second half of the schedule. So this is where we're going to see more teams really starting to take shape in terms of where they sit in these standings. So it's going to be some exciting stuff. ET and I will be there to walk you through all of it across the North and South American regions. So that will be tomorrow afternoon. For now, though, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the matches. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your evening as well. Happy Friday. Hope you all have a good weekend.